So everything good to go. Over to Zia sir and Zishan.
Dishan, please start.
Sure, sir. Okay. Hello, guys. So let me first share my screen. So last week we were working out with the learning solidity fundamentals, the basic fundamentals, which will require to write any beginner to advanced level of code. So we were looking at this tutorial, and we were at the point of variables. We explored state, local, and global variable, and then we had to move where we stopped our class was the variables scope. So let me start with this point. And so first, what you need to understand is that whenever you create a variable in any application, any kind of language, there are some boundaries or access modifiers that allow variables to be accessible or disallow variable to be accessible from outside of the boundary of that particular entity. For that, they have these access modifiers. In case of Solidity, we have three: the public, internal, and the private. As we generally know, the public variable means that these variables can be accessible outside the contract of Solidity. That means you can access outside from the contract. But the private variable can only be accessed within the contract, and internal variables can be called in the child class. So we'll not go to the detail of inheritance because at this moment we have not learned the inheritance, but I'll show you just the example how the internal is going to work. So for that, let me go to this is the same code structure we have set up last week. So there is no much need to change. So I'm using that same code at this moment, and I'll use this function as well. For now, just leave it as it is, and then we'll see what we need to do. Okay, so we need to create, okay, one more thing. These access modifiers applied on the state level variables, so variables that are used as a storage, and these access modifier applies on the functions. Okay, so let's say I have a variable called UN256 age variable. Now I have to make it a public or a private or an internal. So what I'll have to do is I'll specify the public, and then I'll make it as a public variable. Now the difference in public variable in Solidity and any other language is that public variable can be accessed from the outside as a variable, but they cannot be modified from the outside without using any other function. So this is public, it can be accessible, but it is not modifiable. So in Solidity does not allow variable to be accessed to be modified in any way directly. You have to write the functionality because it updates the state of the contract, and it's kind of a transaction. Actually, it is a transaction. So for that, you cannot just go and update the variable from outside world. You have to call a function which work as a transaction. So let's say this is the function we have, and we wanted to create a function. Let's say update age, and it does not return anything. Takes the UN256 underscore age, and it just age equals to age. Just a moment, there is some intending problem. Okay, so at this moment, I had just created a simple function that will update the age, but to access the age, we don't have to do anything because this variable is available directly. So let's go to the code over here. Yes, so that's the same script we have used last week. So it will just use the same deployment and everything. Instead of calling the get result, let me first call the. So this script is outside of blockchain world. It is a JavaScript file, and we are actually contacting the blockchain. So what I'll do is I'll call const data equals to await solidity test dot age. Okay, I have not compiled it. It's hard at clean. Just clean the existing type change folders and deployment folders. So you just have the clean fix hard hat compile. Okay, so it's just trying to compile. Once it's compiled, now what we can do is age. You can see we have the age, but it is not available as a variable. It is available as a function. You need to understand that in Solidity, you can make a variable a public, but it is available as a function. So Solidity itself makes it a Solidity compiler makes it a function, a public function, which can use to access that variable. And as it's a get function, so you cannot change the value like this because it's not allowed. So you can just call it as a function. So you will be creating the variable public, but other things will be done by the Solidity itself, and you will just call it. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll also run the local blockchain.
So sir, calling a variable will be same as calling a function, yeah, in JavaScript.
In case of public variable.
Okay, sir.
Because private and internal variable are not available outside of the contract, so you will not have the function for them. They will be available inside the contract, and they will be accessed similarly that like we call any variable. Okay, so the node is ready. Npx started. Okay, so now you can see it's a big number. We have not discussed in much detail, but at this moment I'll just go to the call to string. So it's a big number is in JavaScript object provided by Ether, because Solidity variables can have a numbers which cannot be easily held by the JavaScript variable. So they've created other bigger types objects which can hold such numbers. But for us, it's just the age variable, so it does not matter to us. Okay, so age is 0 at this moment because we have just created the contract, did not assign anything. Now what we'll do is we'll call the update age, and then we'll again check out the value of age. So now I'm going to do is const update age. Okay, I'll pass, let's say 45, and so once this update is done, I have to verify this again. So I'll call this lines again to show you guys.
Sir, this text start wait. This is ether.js.
Yeah, basically when you call the function which it updates or change the state of a contract, it is actually a transaction. So it returns you the object of transaction. And when transaction is initiated, you have to sometimes you have to wait for the transaction to get completed. Transaction is being initiated, but it is not being successfully registered in the blockchain. Sometimes it takes time. So you have, what you have to do, you have to wait. But even after wait, sometimes you also face this problem that it wait is successful, but your transaction is not being registered it till. So you have to wait for a while. In our case, because it's a local blockchain, so we will not face much of a problem.
Shouldn't it be data1 dot to string in the last one,
Sorry.
the last console dot log?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Data1 dot
Thank you.
string.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. So you can see the age before was 0. When we call the update, when update is done, we check the age again, and it's now 45. So you need to understand that we are actually calling the contract, getting the value from the contract. When you try to get the value, it's not a transaction. When you update the value, it's a transaction. And what we are trying to understand is the variable access modifiers, which is public. So at this moment, in all this scenario, what you need to understand that we have created a public age variable. This age variable can be accessed inside the contract as a normal variable, but for outside world, Solidity compiler gives us this age as a function of a kind of a get function. You can access that function. You cannot change, which is completely different from any other language we have worked. If you guys have worked with C#, Java, or Python or anything, so you will see the difference in here. So that's the public variable. In case of private, let's say I'll create a variable UN256 private, and I'll say height. Okay, and in the height, let me just add 6 at this moment. What we can do is we can access this function variable inside the our same contract, and we can change it. Let's say 32. But if, let me compile it and show you guys that if we try to access from outside world, from here, if I go and say Solidity test dot for the name height, so it will not work and you will not be accessed. height does not exist. So it will say that height variable does not exist because it's a private variable, so you cannot access it here. So that's the simple example of private variable. And if you have an internal variable, let's say make it internal. So at this moment we have one contract which has an internal variable. Now this can be updated or accessed within the same contract. This cannot be accessed outside of the contract, but this can be accessed if there is any other contract. Let's say
This is like protected in C++.
yes. Okay, so okay, so you can see in the child contract we can access it, but from the outside world this will not be available. So that's the difference between public, private, and internal. Public can be accessed from the outside, but can only be accessed, cannot be updated. Private can only be available inside the contract, and internal can be accessed from the child classes. And we have not gone into the inheritance detail, which we will discuss later. So at this moment, this is what we have related to the variable scope. Operators. For operators, what we have is basically what you need to understand. These are the common operators in any programming language. You will face the plus, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus. So these are the simple examples. You don't have to worry about, or you don't have to just see any example. Increment and decrement operator, these are all the same. Double equality, not equal, greater than, less than, bitwise, logical, and operators, and assignment operators. These are all same operators. Conditional operators, you have seen it in JavaScript, you must have seen in C#, Java, or any, even in Python. So all those language have some these common operators, and it's not something we need to go into the detail to learn how to just plus two variables. So that's not something we should uh, worry about. It's just an example. But the only thing is, previously before Solidity 0.8, what happened is when you call subtraction or addition, and the concatenation summation goes out of the bound of a variable, it does not check the so the compiler was, or the runtime environment was not checking it. And if, let's say, you have variable uint variable 100 and you have another uint variable 150, and when you subtract it, so it will be the -50. So variable is uint, so runtime environment will do something calculation, and you will get the result which will not be the accurate result which you wanted. So that's why previously there were a lot of libraries named SafeMath. OpenZeppelin has it, and there are many other libraries have provided these same maths calculation, and they just don't do anything. They just compare that if the value is below or under some values. So now from Solidity 0.8, you don't have to worry about any safe math library. You just go and call the summation on two variables. So let's say we have this variable, I'll call u in 256 sum equals to age plus.
Sir, I have a question that
Yes.
till date, many projects are using SafeMath library. So is it a wise decision to include in the project, or no need to do that? So your wise.
Now you don't need it. Even say if you go to the OpenZeppelin implementation of SafeMath class, they mention at the top of it that you don't need it anymore, and you can directly go it. But because many of the projects are already using it, so they are keeping it, because many projects are using the Open Zeppelin library. So many projects has it. That's why. So making the change to the whole project based on just adding and subtraction functions, it will be the difficult for many projects. That's why they are keeping it. But now you don't have to worry about, whenever you any documentation or anywhere you will go, they will say that you don't need to use safe math anymore.
Okay, so where the gas cost is involved, so it's not taking too much gas, I think. That's why they're keeping it.
Safe math,
Yeah.
it's taking the gas because it's calling the another function. It's additional cost for you.
So is it so expensive or less expensive? Because everyone is keeping this in their project.
No, as I mentioned, why everyone is keeping it, because I have a 20-30 contracts in my project, and I'm using
Yes.
many calculations. So if I'll just go and just for the updation of plus and subtract, I'll go and just try to update everything. It will not be wise for me. Just keep this library as it is. What Open Zeppelin did is Open Zeppelin just given the default implementation. So you call Open Zeppelin's add function. They are just concatenating inside it. They are not using the logic they were using previously. So that's why you don't have to worry about. But moving forward, you don't have to use.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Again, loops. Exactly like we used any looping functionality in any programming language. It is similar, as you can see. While any condition, then your logic, and you uh, just complete it. And same is for the do while. So let me just show the example code, and we will not worry about much detail about it. Let's say just return the result. So it's as simple as we have been using in any other programming language.
ये बिल्कुल start to सिखा लें।
Okay, so what I'll do is just to avoid the confusion, because transaction function does not return the variable directly. You can see it in Remix. So what I'll do is I'll update the age variable. So that we can access it. So initially age variable is this something, then we'll call this, and after the calling of Okay. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do is I'll try to get the value of age, which will be 0 initially. Then I'll run the for loop. It will just do the calculation. It will do nothing and update the age variable, so we can access age variable later on. Okay, as you can see, we have the variable value 1024. So it's just trying to double the value on every iteration. So why I'm showing this is what we can do is on some condition, let's say if data greater than, we have not discussed if or, but we have discussed the equal comparison operator, which is just as simple, and if is exactly similar like JavaScript or any other program. If data is greater than 500, then break the loop. It will break it, and instead of going to the 1024, it will stay somewhere in between.
Sir, your mic is mute.
Sorry. So I was saying that similar to any application, you can see that this is 512 because we have break it at this point, and exactly like in any programming language we do, it's similar. And like for while, it's again data less than 500, so keeps running until data is less than 500. So we'll do some calculation. It's a while exactly, so we have been doing in any programming language and do. So just show you. You can use the break and continue operators and use all same 3 loops which we have been using any programming language, the for, while, and do. All 3 looping functions constructs
Sir,
available to us.
Sir, I had a question. So
Yes.
in this logic, you have written that while data is less than 500, so every time it would declare it again. Wouldn't it be better if we declare it outside the loop and then change the value inside the loop?
You are right. I was just trying to create the example, so that's why I just or we just does not have to do it anything. Just call the data plus plus, and it will call. This
Right,
will
sir.
work, right? It was just for the sake of example, so nothing to worry about. Okay.
So, but sir, but my question is that if such error occurs, so the compiler would give the error, or would it be a logical mistake?
No. It's a logical error. None of the compiler can understand the logical error. Compiler cannot
Okay,
give you any. What will happen? What will happen is when you
what will
call
happen
this
because we are
function.
reading. Okay.
What will happen is when we call this function, it will keep running this what you say function, but the problem is data variable is increasing. It does not have a problem with the new val. We are calling the data plus plus, so it's increasing. So this condition will work at less than 500. So there will not such problem. You see?
So basically what my question was that if we declare a variable of the same type with the same name, wouldn't there be
Mhm.
any problem? Or I mean, redeclare it.
You cannot
So would
declare.
there
You
be
cannot
any
declare.
problem?
No, you cannot do it.
Okay, okay,
It will
okay,
give
okay,
you
sir.
error.
Okay, sir. I understood.
At the compilation, it will give you the error. It will say that this declaration shadows the existing declaration. It will because it's a local variable and it's in local inside the local, so it will shadows it, and then you will face the problem at the compilation time. So now let's move to the
So
decision
this
making.
return functionality doesn't work in Harded the way it works in Remix.
Basically, Remix is the Remix has given us some features which we do not have directly when we generally use the blockchain functionality. So Remix has given us this feature, but you need to see that if your function has this variable, sorry, if you declare your function as view, then Remix give you the value. Otherwise, Remix does not give you the value. Remix will not give you any value. If you declare your function view, then Remix will give you the let me just when you call some function, and so when you click on it, it will give you the value. Why? Because the function is view. Otherwise, Remix will also not give the response, and it will be somewhere inside the logs here. So
Yes.
we'll see once we'll reach to understand the transaction and everything. But at this moment, this is how it works. That's the natural how things works with the blockchain.
Excuse me,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Yes.
Sir, the loop which you have written, won't it will run infinite times?
Basically, what you need to understand is you have to forget about what the logic I'm writing. Actually, I was showing you what the construct is, how while works, how do while works. So the logic
Okay.
inside it, it does
Okay.
not matter. But even then, this will not give the infinite loop because data plus plus will always work. So this variable uh, uh, is declaring every time this is the new variable, but data plus plus is working every time. So data will increase from 1 to 500, and then this while loop will be break ends.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so now if else if it's exactly like I have shown you here.
Assalamualaikum, sir. I have a question from last class.
Yes, please. Last from
Sir,
last class.
yes, sir. We were using attach function and attach, and in this we were passing the address. So, but before this we were calling the function, but we are not telling. I mean, we have to tell the address that from this address use this function, but we are doing in reverse, so it was not clear.
Sir, my
Sorry, guys. What I was trying to explain is that if we deploy the contract and after some time we wanted to call that contract, so we will not be just deploying and accessing at the same time and doing all these things at the one point in time. We'll be doing some calls in the future. So what or how we can access that contract afterwards in a day after day two, or any separate call you wanted to access that contract separately, how you will be going to do this. So that's why I showed you guys that once you deploy it, what you can do is you can call the attach function with the deployed address. But at this moment, what I'm trying to do is I have just deployed it. and I have that variable, and I'm accessing that properties exactly at the same time. So I don't have to worry about the attaching the contract, because I'm doing all these things at the same time. But in ideal world, this will not be the case. You will be not doing everything at the same time. You deploy the code, and then you will be accessing some other time or with some other functionality to access this code. Then you will have to call the attach if you're talking with the ether, then attaching the contract with the ether. That's what it was.
The confusion is I am telling that find the function greeter, and then I'm saying that this is the address. So the sequence will not be like this, that from this address run the function this or get access to this function.
You are talking about this implementation. You are talking about this one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm we are get contract factory greeter, but it will. I think first we should not give the address and then call the function greeter.
No, what you need to understand again is, first we will call it like this. We'll call greeter, we'll deploy it. Then once it is deployed, we can access it. Now thing is done. You go to sleep, you wake up again next day, and now you wanted to access the same contract which is already in the blockchain. You don't want to deploy it again. You wanted to access it again. What you will do? You have
sir.
to use the same address and attach it with your code, and then try to use it. For that,
Right, sir. Right, sir. But first, I will have to tell him that from this address, check this function. In this, we are going reverse, I think.
check this function.
I mean, for accessing it, we first.
No. That's what I'm. You need to see what I'm showing you. If you're seeing this, this is the step one. You will deploy it. Call the contract factory. It will just give you the class of TypeScript which has the API code and everything, which gives you the facility to deploy the code. And the same class gives you the facility to access the existing contract. Once you've done this, then you have to use this one. You
Sir, my question
access
is
the
So
contract
basically,
center.
sir, so what I have understood is the get contract factory basically gives us the metadata that is required. So
ABI
metadata or
gives
the
the ABI.
interface that is, yeah, the ABI or the interface that is required to either access or deploy the code.
Yes.
Right. So basically, it is used in both, whether we
Yes,
access it
yes.
or we deploy it.
Yes. Then you call the attach, so it will attach the existing contract which is already deployed on the blockchain, and then you can access it, and then you can call or whatever the function you wanted to call.
And in the other script, basically on the place of attach, because we haven't deployed it, so we are deploying it also at the same place and getting the address as a promise or result.
Yes. Okay, so now let's move back to. Okay, so if else statement again. I'll not be going into the detail how the if else work, because that's the general implementation of if else. So let's say that's a bad example of writing a if condition, but don't worry about the logic. I'm just showing you the. It should be in reverse order. Okay, so you can see it's the same in any program. If age greater than 30, then you have to will update this age with the addition of 34. If age is greater than 50, will update with the addition of 70. If age is not in any range, but definitely this logic will not. just forget about the logic. We'll have to see this. But so that's how if it work, and what you can do is, let's say, greater than 30 and less than 40. Now this logic will work fine. You can say age greater than 40 and age less than equal to 50. So that's how you can apply the AND operator and the OR operator as well, which is the general example. So we have discussed the operators over there, and these are the conditions how we can be using. I hope there is nothing special about it, and there's no confusion. Strings. In all the programming language, string has the special. Yes, please. Yes, someone was asking something. Okay. So in all the programming language, string has some many functionalities, many variables, many functions, which helps you to manipulate strings and all those things. But in Solidity, string is quite restricted entity. String does not have comparison operator. You cannot do the equality. You cannot just go around and compare it. And what you say, you cannot even concatenate two strings easily with the direct string concatenation. So because there are a lot of conditions involved, they need to so for that, what you have to do is you have to go for the other possibilities which have already provided. But calling a string variable is similar like we call the string data, and that's the simple string variable. But what you can do is you can use the bytes 32 data type. It also gives you the test string functionality. So what happened is, actually, whenever you write any string, it just stores as a byte inside the system. So you don't have to worry about the string or bytes. So if you write bytes data, it's as good as a string, because you don't have directly comparison and concatenation operator. So in our case, let's say, coming to this function again. Okay, let's say we write a string name equals to hello world. This is the state variable. This is the state variable. That means this string will be stored as a part of the blockchain, and it's the state of your function. Okay, so that's the simple variable. But if you try to create a string inside a function, string last name, now it will give you the error, because we have not discussed these storage, memory, and call data. But to understand it, basically, whenever you are creating the variables at the state level, they are called storage. They have the storage position. So because they actually stores inside the contracts, inside the blockchain. But when you wanted to create a local variable which needs to be destroyed after the function has been completed, so you have to specify the keyword memory over here. Previously, I'm not sure, maybe before Solidity 5 or 4, it was not mandatory. You can just create the variable without the keyword memory, and it was working. Now they have made it mandatory to type it memory, so that you, while writing, you know that it's the local variable, it's a memory level variable in case of string and bytes. Now you can just do
So
some-
the reason which I
let's
think is that if because the other data types are just created as a storage variables, while this is created as memory. So to save the gas fees, I think.
yes. Even when you try to return it, you have to mention memory.
So, sir, the string by nature is a storage variable, if I'm correct.
No, if you are trying to create inside the function, you have to specify that you are creating the local variable. If you will not specify, they will not allow you to compile. So you have to specify, and you cannot call it a storage. Why?
No, I
Because
was,
storage is only available at the state level. So you cannot
yeah.
call it as a storage, and storage is only available at the state level. So you just have to specify strictly memory. Okay. So that's one thing which is very simple about the string. But now what I need to do is I need to at this moment I'll not go into the much detail how you can compare and how you can concatenate. I'll just show you the example. There are function called encode pack, which is
Sir,
used
one
for
question, sir.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you in the middle, but what is
No.
difference between memory and call data?
Basically, call data is the static data. When you whenever your function you create the you whenever you wanted to use function input parameters, then you can specify that you are calling the static data is call the static data, and they need to be destroyed. They need to be stay in the static variable, and they need to be destroyed as soon as the function gets over. There are very thin difference between the memory and call data, which when you go into the detail of the calling specific type of variables, then you find the difference. Otherwise, for generally the example we are working on will not see any difference between the call data and memory. But when you go like just like I'm going to show you the encode packed function, you will not be seeing that function in any simple application. But when you will be working with the advanced examples, then you see the difference what encode packed and what the call data and memory, you will see the difference. Okay,
Thank you,
so
sir.
for now, let's say we have this name variable, make it a public so we can access from outside. Update name. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to update this name variable, and I wanted to concatenate okay. So what we have to do is we have to call
parameters
yes.
are okay given 256 edge. You have to
Actually,
change.
I'm not using it. I'm not using it, so don't have to worry about it. Okay. Now this encode pack returns the bytes. So what we can do is string. It will convert back to the string and it will concatenate. Now The problem is that what you need to understand that encode pack and encode, these are the two functions which used in advanced application when you want to pass many parameters in a function, but you don't know what type of variables will be coming to us. So on those advanced examples, you need to use it. Maybe in future we'll see particular example, or maybe we have in 04, there is a example from the book. So we'll see in detail over there. At this moment, you just understand that encode pack, what it does is it concatenates the data and apply the same level of padding values. So let's say you have uint 32 and you have uint 256 and you specify value 19. Uint 256 has a bigger range. So what it does is it will add a lot of zeros out with that, so that it gives you the proper values, and the function who is accessing those values can split them easily because it knows what the values are coming from, so it can split those values. But for that, for now, you don't have to worry about, because we'll see in detail. At this moment, we are just using it to concatenation. And once
So
it
sir,
is
it
done,
can
what I'll do is,
concatenate. It can concatenate string with joint as well.
yes. It's basically the purpose of this function is the same, that it just actually it just combines all those things. It's actually not concatenating, combining all those things. So we'll see in detail in maybe in step 04, we'll go into the detail of it. Okay, so once it is done, what I'll do is name equals to result, so we don't have to worry about the transitions. But this function is does not have any thing, so we'll make it view, so we can call it directly. We don't have to. Okay, now from the code, what we'll do is I'll remove all those calls and we'll just keep this one. Okay, so no, the name of the function is update name. You can see we have the result hello world. Now we don't have hello world, does not have a space. So just the final to show you, as this encode fact function can take as many as parameter you want. So you can specify this and just call it.
सर आपकी तबीयत ज्यादा ठीक नहीं है, नेक्स्ट टाइम कवर कर लेंगे ज्यादा, अभी शॉर्ट कर
नहीं,
लीजिए।
इतना कोई मसला नहीं है, अभी तो हमने शुरू किया। हेलो वर्ल्ड, now you can see hello world has a space. That's how you can concatenate the what you say strings. And there is another option, you can use the byte to concatenate as well. Bytes also has a concatenate function. I'm not going into it, but what you can do is you have the
We cannot hear you, sir.
Rishan, we cannot hear you. I think
Sir, Rishan has been disconnected, sir.
he has been disconnected. Let me call him. Some network problem.
Yeah, the wire has been damaged recently, so Zishan is back, sir.
Yes. There is some. Rishan is back.
yes. Sorry, there was some disconnection in my network. Okay, so what I was trying to show you that you can call the bytes and then you can call the contact function and concatenate 2 bytes and then convert that result back to the string. So that's so you can go from the byte to string and string to byte, and it will work as smooth as it is because actually behind the scene string also holds the bytes, so you don't have to worry about it. And again, string has very limited functionality with respect to like concatenation and comparison, and the generally all the languages have too many functionalities, and string is given so many special uh, treatment in many languages, but in solidity you have to do so for simple comparison and concatenation you have to go for routes like this.
So, sir, I think that there is some connection with the decentralization part of the Solidity, but do you know the main reason of it?
Main reason of
Very limited access to the string methods and etc.
basically when you go for the manipulation of characters, it's itself is a heavy task, heavy duty operation. There is a when you go for other languages, there are called concept called heap and pools, and all these manipulations got too much heavy, and if you go with these functionalities with the what you say in the blockchain, then it will gets too many of it will be too costly. Let's say you allowed to simple concatenation quite easily, it will be like what you say there'll be too many concatenations, useless concatenation when you don't need it, and it will be costing you too many of gas fees, it will be holding the blockchain. So if you wanted to do anything, go with the bytes, calculate with the bytes, and then get your results. So even then the usage of string is not much, like we don't want to store like name, age, and father name like into the blockchain. It's not something blockchain is for this. We need to store the financial data, which is very important. So that's why main focus should be on this. Okay, so next is arrays. Okay, now for array again, there is a bit of difference using inside the solidity, but generally array is as it is, as we are using programming language with a few of the restrictions or functionalities restrictions, like as you can see, we can create the array let's say specify UN26 name and then size of the array like this. So it will create an array. This will create the dynamic array. If you want to create a dynamic array means, this means that if you specify 10, that means this array will have only 10 indexes. You cannot increase it. If you are coming from the JavaScript background, you cannot just go around and add any elements into the array. If you are coming from the typed language like C# and Java, then you know that if you specify the 10 indexes, then that means it's 10 indexes and you cannot go further. But we need extensible arrays. For that, you can create dynamic arrays, and these dynamic arrays can only be created at the state level, storage level. I'll show you this example. So here you can see we can create an array, balance, new int, and size. So these are the few type of declaration that you can use. Let's say we start using it.
Tell me, sir, why the arrays has to be on a state level?
Sorry?
Why the arrays have to be on the state level?
Not all arrays. If you wanted to create a dynamic array, if you wanted to create an array with the extensible length within the function, they don't allow it. But if you wanted to do the extensible array on the state level, then they allow it. So dynamic array is allowed at the state level. Let me show you the example. Okay, so let's say what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create an array with 7 elements. So there is a restriction that I can use it as with 7 elements. Now what I can do is exactly like any programming language, index starts with 0, and I can go around, type this, or I can go with the for loop.
Sir, I had a question, sir.
Mhm.
So, sir, right now it is not very suitable or optimized to store data on the blockchain. We just do the logical work, logic or program logic on the blockchain. Am I right?
No, we store data. Definitely, we need to store the data. There are, if you have seen many DeFi applications, they store user information, how many tokens they hold, what the stake they have. There are a lot of information that needs to be stored inside the blockchain. So they store. So there are many storage functionalities being done.
So if we take an example, such as the Nadra. So if Nadra basically converts all their registry and their storage to blockchain, so there is a huge set of data, and it would cost a lot of gas fees and etc. Obviously, if we don't consider that they use a private blockchain, we just say that they use a public blockchain, and they put basically what I'm saying, that a huge amount of data is to be stored on chain. So how it would fit in
it's already
the
been
Web
stored.
3
There
point of
is already been stored huge amount of data. There is already been stored, so there will be another data related to the Nadra, so there won't be any problem. the blockchain can handle it, but definitely you need to see what information you need to store inside the blockchain, and what you, if you wanted to create the automate the everything related to the Nadra. So you, let's say you wanted to store some everything related to the NIC information. So whatever the information available in NIC you wanted to store in the public blockchain, then definitely you can store it. It will be inside the blockchain. There will be again there are blocks and there is information in each block. It will be stored in
Right, sir. So, sir, as a following question, how can we basically connect the big data and the blockchain right now, or in the future, in the Web3, as the Web3 comes into play, or the main
big,
action?
big data and blockchain. Definitely you basically you need to understand how you need to access the data, because big data means you have a lot of information available, and now you can access the data and you can add the manipulation or over it. Doing it with the blockchain data, you might not be easily manipulated, because there are a lot of functionalities, lot of manipulation, data cleaning, and needs to be done. So at this moment I don't have a clear answer for you, but we need to find out the routes, how we can fetch the data from the blockchain and then apply the all the AI functionalities on it.
Right, sir. So, and right now, basically, there is not very much work on chain regarding AI manipulation and etc. The on chain work, I'm saying.
I'm not sure about it. There must be many people who might be doing something. I'm not sure about it.
Yeah, because right now,
yes, please.
yeah, but I was saying that right now we cannot basically deploy AI models on Ethereum chain. Basically, I was saying.
Again, I cannot say anything, but definitely people must be working on it. There must be some people who will be working on it, who must be working on it. So you might see in few months or years, not years. It will be kind of a months in now in the today's scenarios. Okay, so that's how you can
I just
update
want
the
to add
variable.
something, sir.
Yes, please.
The identity related work is going on, and there is a token released named as ERC725.
ERC725. Related to the identity. You're talking about the identity. Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
So things are in progress. Okay, so when we say we need to have a 3 lens, then that means with 0 to 1, it will work and compile easily.
Sir, can we use JavaScript higher order array methods like .map, .forEach, or do we have something else like that in Solidity?
No. There are very limited iteration functionalities. Even if you have a mapping, you cannot do the iteration. I'll explain the iteration, but these functionalities are not easily available inside it. So you have to carefully create your data so that you can easily access with the single call. You don't have to go for the lot many iterations or searching into the blockchain.
Sir, is there any possible case like, let's say if we have to iterate through our array, then how can we do it in Solidity?
I have shown you the iteration. This is how you can iterate, but it's the simple array that you can iterate on it. I have shown you the loops. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Now, basically, a dot push. There is function as you can see here. We have push function as well. But if you call the push function here, it should not work at this moment. You see, because if you are creating a static array, it will not be what you call It's not dynamic array, so you cannot just go around and call the push function. You have to specify these operators and call it. If you wanted to create a dynamic array, let's say the array like this. This. So if I say, let's say declare a way. You see, it is giving me error that data location must be storage or memory. So if I'll make it storage, it will show me the allow me to create, but storage means it's the global variable. It's stores at the what you call in the blockchain. Okay, now what I can say.
Sir, now you have created this storage inside a function, but previously when we were doing it inside with the string, it was not allowing that.
That's what I'm trying to show you. You will see in a moment that if you see variable of a storage pointer type and can be accessed without prior assignment would lead to undefined behavior. So it's saying that you have created the storage level of variable and you have not assigned anything, because when you create a variable at the state level, what it does is when contract gets deployed, they assign the default value, they initialize the variable, and that has some default initialized values. But if you do at the local level, it does not initialize it. So if I go and say array name 1.push, now it will not give me an error. So here is the trick. Array name dot push. So it giving me error that you cannot push until you initialize it. Let's initialize it. What we can do is u in 256, initialize it. Type function pure returns memory, not implicitly. You see, it is not implicitly convertible to expected unit storage pointer. You cannot initialize storage variable inside the function. So this is some kind of tricks you need to understand, and you will understand only by doing it. So it allows me to reference the variable at the storage level, but when I try to initialize it, it will not allow me to initialize it. So what I can only do is I can reference it like this. These are the tricks where you don't have to worry about this at this moment. You will slowly and gradually you will understand, but at this moment I'm just showing you guys that if I wanted to access the storage level array inside my function, then I can do this way, but I cannot initialize storage level array inside the function. And if I cannot initialize it, I cannot call the push function. So practically this will not be useful for me declaring the storage level variable of array inside my function. But when you do like this, it will work out. And let's say you wanted to store all the users. Let's say I'm creating address of all the users coming to my DApp. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to store addresses of all the users. So what it will do is, let's say, let me show you. Whoever calls the register function what we want is that person needs to be stored inside our contract, so we can have a list of all the users' account addresses. So we have created the array of address named users. So what we can do is we can create the array of users, and whenever for any particular user gets called the registered, that message.sender will have the address of that user who calls the register function, and then we'll store that information inside our array, and then we can use that function. Using array like this is the worst way of doing it. You should not use it like this. It should be mapping. I don't know, mapping. Yes, we have mapping, but later on, but let me show you here so that you in context of this example we can get the idea. So generally what you do is address, and let's say right, and then you say users balance message.sender equals to, initially let me say it's 1. Now it's easy to access user from this mapping because it will be just like user balance message.sender, and we have this value. But if you use this array, that means if your application has 1,000, even 1,000 users, how you'll be accessing this user coming to your application? You have to iterate the complete array and compare it if this address is the same which is coming from the call, and then you have to compare it. So that's the completely bad idea of using it. So, whenever you are trying to create your data structure, you need to understand how you'll be accessing things. So using arrays in this way, it's completely a bad idea. You either it's 2 or 3 variables, 2 or 3 indexes, then it's a good. Otherwise you have to iterate over the complete array. That's not the right idea. So that's how you use the what you say address array, how you use array, and the mapping. We'll go into the detail when we reach to that point, but that's the basic level of mapping. You specify key and the value. So key is something you need to always be unique, and in value you can store anything you want. And then for the user balance, you can it's a variable, and then how you will be adding data into the mapping. You will specify key, and after the equal you will specify value. How you access, you specify the key and you will get the value. That's how you use mapping inside the contracts.
So sir, it was bad idea to use array like this because with the iteration we will always consume extra gas.
Yes, too many gas, too much of gas.
Yeah, so basically mapping structure is a hash table, so it directly accesses the value while array iterates over it.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so should we break over here, or sir, what about?
Yes, I think we should break over here, but I'd like to share my screen. Could you just wanted to discuss something with phones?
Sure.
Everybody can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, the thing is, I just wanted to emphasize that Web 3.0 is being slowly and gradually, Ishan, becoming the mainstream. Now look at this article. This is today's article. Crypto job posting jumped 395% in 2021. 4 times. and in major cities in America, in San Francisco, Austin, New York City, Miami, and Denver. Going forward, this is going to be a major trend. And both I and Zishan are basically focusing our everything, all our resources, all our mind, all our time on this technology. And this is going to merge with metaverse technology in the future also. So therefore, I suggest to all of you, please focus and learn. And we are also basically going to soon announce, we have already announced a tool, Penacloud CLI tool. We are going to also announce other portals, and Zishan is working on protocols where all you developers can basically make your APIs NFT and your applications an NFT and manage it with DAO and so on. So therefore, I request all of you to basically focus on this technology big time. Ishan, do you have anything to add?
Just one thing that it's not just an article. It's really when you go to the Upwork or even you go to the any network, people are working like crazy. There are many projects every day coming in, many blockchain projects, and many people are investing into the projects. It's not just you're creating, because creating a project before Web 3.0, if you're talking about the Web 2.0, you need to create an application, you need to engage user. Based on those engaging users, you get the ads, and then you get the revenue and all those things. That's what you do with the Web 2.0. But in Web 3.0, you create your DApp application, you set up your NFT project or the DeFi application, and people start investing it. So you start getting the amount from investors directly from your project. So it's not just you wait for the some ads in like in Web 2.0. It's just like crazy, and people are investing like a crazy. I don't know what is happening, but every other investor looking for the new project which has something different, something unique, and they start investing.
I've also now opened my Upwork profile. Now look at this thing. I've just entered Solidity. Solidity developer for blockchain game. From $30 to $100. They are themselves willing to pay $100. Whenever you talk about a range and you ask somebody, and it is from UK, and there are 2,000 openings right now on Upwork. And if like I and Zishan have a pact, we are working together. If all of you also join us and we do work, quality work, we can make millions. Any questions?
Sir, need to ask few things, sir. First, I would like to ask that how blockchain is playing its role in metaverse. Because my understanding is that it is like you have to you should have some graphic designing skills and stuff like that.
The thing is, in every project in metaverse, for example, Decentraland. Let me see. Give you example. Welcome to Decentraland. This is the oldest metaverse project. Check it out. It is on Ethereum. There's another one called Sandbox. So therefore, they are combining 3D. 3D is the user interface, and yeah, they are using the capabilities of blockchain to basically monetize it. So therefore, that's how. Any other questions?
Sir, second thing I would like to ask is that at the moment, Ethereum is the market. Ethereum is having a highest market share, but there are new technologies coming as well, like Solana, Avalanche, and I believe in future they will give tough time to Ethereum as well. So should we start focusing, learning on those things as well?
Right now, 90% of the market is held by Ethereum. And all these technologies got a chance because the gas fee on Ethereum is very high. As soon as we have Ethereum 2.0 in this year, I think others will find it it's going to be tough market for them to compete with Ethereum.
And
Because
last
as far as security is concerned, nobody can compete with Ethereum. The only issue is gas price and gas fees, and they are addressing it.
Thank you, sir. Last thing I would like to ask is that what do you consider, how vital are finance skills or your financial education to be a successful blockchain developer?
The thing is, to be a successful blockchain developer, there are two types of developers. One are the architects who define what has to be done. For that, you need financial skills. But in most cases, the architecture is defined by somebody else and you are implementing it. For implementation, you don't need financial background.
Thank you so much.
So, sir, I had a question, sir. So right now, the greater demand is for the application developers and not the architects, basically. So an architect has made a platform like Ethereum, and now we need the application on Ethereum as so to create the network and increase its worth. But what if someone wants to pursue the architect, basically the blockchain code developer? If someone wants to become a code developer, what is the pathway or any guidance you would want to give to him?
Well, basically, we are also covering that. In the future, we are going to cover DeFi and all the rest of the stuff as well. So therefore, just stick with us. We'll cover that.
Right, sir.
I have a question. For the way forward in Pakistan, is it more suitable to open up a company, a front-end company which is doing the actual business, or just focus on doing development for, so let's say, a company registered in USA or Canada, because, or find a partner in USA or Canada, because at the moment government and institutions are just searching for people who are involved in anything related to crypto or even NFTs. So that is something which we need to see before planning a company or planning a business, something like that. So how do you think, how do you suggest that developers should go? Should they just keep working as back office developers for other companies, or we should aim at registering companies abroad?
The thing is, we are developers. We are not traders. So it doesn't matter to us.
So a follow-up question from the back, the person who asked. So right now, if we want, even if we want to be developers, we have to purchase crypto as for the gas fees and stuff. So they are basically monitoring the people who are purchasing crypto from any of the crypto exchanges. And right now, many people would agree that they receive messaging from Bank Alpha and etc., that if anyone is involved in crypto payments, any kind of crypto payments, even if you are just purchasing tokens for the gas fees, they are not legal tender or else. So what would be
the thing is, you have to understand, you don't understand. If somebody is saying it's not legal tender, it basically means that government does not accept it a payment of debts legally. For gas fee, nothing to do with that.
So what you I understood is that if I purchase,
the thing is in Pakistan, people don't understand things. The thing is, in 2 years' time, they were lauding you as the savior of Pakistan when the whole global economy will shift it, and then they're running after you to ask you to do it. Right now, they don't understand it. So therefore, anything new comes up, you have to understand. Uber taxi driver is of course jumpy on Uber, because Uber was disrupting the taxi drivers. Hotels, of course, don't like Airbnb. The same applies. Crypto basically is making central state banks irrelevant. Therefore, they won't like it. You are disrupting them. So therefore, why do you suppose they will like it? They're not going to like it.
Is there a plan to engage government at highest level
the thing is,
from the technology community of Pakistan?
The thing is, there's no use of doing it. It's a waste of my time and your time, even think about it. Up to now, what we have basically created a $3 billion economy in Pakistan. There's a $20 billion crypto economy in Pakistan. It's not because of the government. It is in spite of the government. So therefore, they are not just going to put hurdles, and just the best thing is ignore them and do everything you want in your own way. They don't understand things, so therefore they become afraid. If you think about it, this would have been the best opportunity for Pakistan to jump ahead of other countries. Any other questions?
Yeah, Assalamualaikum, sir. Sir, could you please tell that what is substrate? As I have some basic Rust experience, so should I go into the substrate and try to be a core blockchain developer, or is it better to focus on Solidity and become a specific Ethereum developer? Can you explain a bit about it?
What's the difference? Could you repeat your question? I didn't understand it.
I was asking about substrate. What is it, and should I spend time on learning it, because I have some Rust experience, Rust programming language.
Rust programming language. So Rust is going to be very important. So therefore, Solidity and Rust are very close. Both are object-oriented programming languages. You should not have difficulty. You should stick with Rust as well as Solidity. Because in Solana and other blockchains, Rust is the main contract language if that happens. And even in the long run, they are going to start supporting Rust in some time in the future, in 2 years' time on Ethereum also.
So basically,
Okay.
sir, if we found a way to create the Ethereum bytecode in any way possible from different programming languages, there wouldn't be limitation of Solidity, I think.
Yeah, but right now, the thing is they are going to move towards WebAssembly, but that is the long-term plan. Right now, we have to stick with Solidity, and in future, they are going to also support Solidity. Therefore, we are now safe.
Right, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Everybody, bye-bye. And take care of yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.